everyone, and welcome to No Off Season. I'm Ben Pickman.
And I'm Sabreena Merchant.
And today on the show, the orange carpet may have unrolled last night, Sabreena, but All-Star Weekend truly kicks off tonight. And we are here to tell you what to expect out of Indianapolis over the next couple days. A lot is going down, a lot to expect. And we're going to tell you also what the first half of the WNBA season can tell us about who might come out on top this weekend and who might break out of this weekend. But before we get into it, Sabreena, normally this is not just a twosome episode. We have a very special guest with us here today, a fellow writer at The Athletic. He contributes on our Fever coverage. He also covers the Indianapolis Colts, knows all things basketball. And for the sake of this episode, and I believe one next week, he's basically on a hardship contract for us, a 7-day hardship contract. We're so lucky that we've maneuvered the cap and salary cap situation. James Boyd. James, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. I feel like I correspond with you and Sabreena a lot more these days than I did in years past. And obviously, it's always good to collab, but a lot of work to be done over the next few days here at WNBA All-Star Weekend.
The big test, I guess, for us, James, is if you're going to be like Ari McDonald and put on a performance today and in future episodes that eventually gets you a rest of season deal. I think that's the big question for us right now.
I don't know, man. I might smoke so many layups for you all to want to sign me to a full, rest of season contract.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. James, you're based in Indy, and so let's start there. For listeners who are traveling to All-Star Weekend, who are parachuting into the city, that's also us who are coming in, though I guess I've spent a lot of time there this summer too, if I can say so myself.
A de facto Indy second resident at this
point.
Yeah,
exactly.
Basically. But what is like one place or one or two places that they should definitely hit? Restaurants, bars, parks, anything that give us the tourists some lay of the land for a second.
Yeah, I feel like the default answer there will be St. Elmo's, the shrimp cocktail. Those who know. And I will warn you now for listeners, because I'm not a mean person, but normally you don't tell people about the horseradish that's in the shrimp cocktail sauce because it will hurt you if you don't know. And so if you do visit, if anybody's coming to town, got a little money to spend, don't put a whole lot of the, shrimp cocktail on the shrimp because that sauce will certainly, kick you in the nose a little bit. But if you have a sinus issues or something like that, it will clean you out for sure. So that's one place I would definitely recommend. And then my favorite bar, I would say, I'm a non-drinker, so I can't really vouch for the alcohol, but for the vibes, I do like, Kilroy's, District Tech, both of those two places downtown. Good place to catch some of the vibes of All-Star Weekend if you aren't able to get into the actual facilities for events. And so I would highly recommend those two places. It's always a good time.
Kilroy's got that stuffed breadstick that they are famous for. If
yes,
I can
sir.
If I can throw one place, the garage.
You're a veteran.
I am. The garage, the food hall. For those looking to get away out of just the arena circle, I always like the garage. There's big food hall, ton of options, good time. I feel like you probably would agree with that assessment.
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Let's get to the basketball, I guess, for a second. We already made the Ari McDonald joke. You've been around this Fever team a lot this season. I guess, what is the big takeaway you have at the halfway point of Indiana Fever, 2025, from what we expected to what we have eventually gotten at this point?
Yeah, I think there's been just a lot of issues with continuity, whether that be with personnel due to injuries, due to DeWanna Bonner wanting out after 9 or 10 games and, trying to implement new pieces, new players, as well as trying to implement a new offense too. And I know, I believe me and Sabreena talked about this at least a little bit. Like the ability to put Caitlin Clark off the ball is something that Stephanie White has emphasized a lot when she is in the lineup. I know she's had her injury battles this season, but she's in the lineup. She's not handling the ball as much as she did last year, where every single offensive action went through her. Now, there's pros and cons to that. I do think they're trying to keep her fresher or trying to give her, easier looks, easier shot attempts. But to me, the overall theme of the season has just kind of been up and down. And, the irony of that is, they played well-ish at times, but they've also looked very bad at times. And so you wonder if we look up a few months from now where this team will be, because coming into the season, Caitlin was asked, what is your goal? And she gave one word answer. I think you were there, Ben, for that. And she said championship.
I actually asked the question, James, if I could see my own.
So there you go. So that is the expectation. That was the burden that they put on each other. But so far, and while they've had moments where they look like they can compete with anybody, they've had other moments where they look like they can get beat by anybody too.
Hey, come on, mission accomplished. They won the Commissioner's Cup championship.
Hey,
We're done.
look, and Sabreena, Lexi Hall definitely said for a moment there that, look, we have extra motivation. We're playing for about $30K a piece, and then they came out there and got smoked the game after that by the Golden State Valkyries, and she's like, well, you know what? It wasn't for $30K, so, whether it's, for money or other reasons, there just hasn't been a lot of continuity.
Sabreena, what stands out to you? I mean, James just rattled off a bunch of things. I think we've talked a lot about the undisciplined defense that the Indiana Fever have played and just the inconsistencies. But when you look at it, has anything surprised you even more than some of what was just mapped out about how Indy has looked so far?
I mean, I think James said the big things as to why Indy has struggled, a lot to start the season. But I kind of just wanted to highlight, Aaliyah Boston has been awesome. There was a big adjustment period for her last year when Caitlin came in and the offense shifted to, accommodate what Clark is really good at. And it took Aaliyah some time to, figure out the high screen and roll and passing out of the short roll and stuff. Her decision making this season has been so freaking good and all-star starter again. But in my opinion, much more deserved this year than it was last year. I just think she's been excellent, exactly what you hope a number one pick would make progression-wise. And the reason why you still have so much hope in what Indy can accomplish over the second half of the season is because even if, Caitlin goes through these ups and downs and the road shooting, my goodness, 1 of 34 on threes on the road this year for Caitlin Clark is just obscene. Aaliyah Boston at least gives you this other tent pole to really focus on.
It's why when we did our future power rankings that we had Clark and Boston as the best 25 and under duo in the league. And no matter, as you mentioned, Caitlin Clark's health or how she plays, I think that is still going to be true by September, October when we look back at it. But I mentioned it just now, Caitlin Clark's health, and we should provide everyone with a little bit of an update here because we are taping this on Wednesday afternoon. Caitlin Clark went down, or exited, I should say, Tuesday night's game against the Connecticut Sun with just around 30 seconds to go in Indiana's eventual victory with a right groin injury. That is what the team called it on Wednesday ahead of their game with the New York Liberty, their final game before the All-Star break. We don't yet know, what that means for the weekend in general, but we should say this is the 4th muscle injury that Caitlin Clark has had this year. If you remember, she dealt with tightness in the preseason, missed a game, then she dealt with both a left quad and a left groin injury that caused her to miss time earlier this season, after the first couple games and then a few games after that. And now she's dealing with a right groin injury. And so, big picture here, James, I think a lot of people have the same reaction. Caitlin Clark is the de facto host, yes, Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell too, but Clark is on the JW Marriott on however high that billboard is, right? She is literally staring down at the city all weekend long, and now her status is very much in question as we tape this. Just how are you feeling? What's the pulse of the city as they process yet another Caitlin Clark leg injury?
Yeah, I think a lot of basketball fans here feel like they've been cheated by the basketball gods because you're coming off of the NBA Finals in which they went on this incredible run, and then Tyrese Halliburton unfortunately tears his right Achilles, and he's going to be out for all of next season. And so you're trying to find that next high, that next bit of joy after being let down so hard. And then when Caitlin, has a bit of success, because even yesterday she didn't shoot the ball all that well against the Connecticut Sun. She had moments, at least late, where she scored about 9 straight, I believe, and looked to kind of be looking like the, all WNBA Caitlin that we know she can be. But it comes crashing down because of the, the groin pull apparently. And just the reaction that she had, I think probably made everyone in the city react the way they did, because I've never seen Caitlin like that. Not to say I'm some expert on her mental health or how she is, but I would argue that I've been around her, more than the average person. And I've seen her, after good games, bad games, whatever the case may be, even injuries. But this one felt a little bit different, just her reaction to it. Her tears welled up in her eyes, and she's banging her head off the stanchion on the other end of the court, and she's putting the towel over her face. And, I think of it twofold. One, there's probably that physical pain of man, I know I might not be myself, and I might have to sit down for a while. But two, I was this close to having, this moment in my city. And I think that's the burden that she faces that true stars in any sport kind of deal with, where if you are legitimately injured and you want to play every night, you want to give those people who, paid a bunch of money and might only see you one time in their entire life, you want to be out there for them, but you can't do it because you physically just can't do it. And that's a different type of mental stress because, to be honest, there's several All-Stars or several players in the league. If they missed a game or two, it wouldn't be like news or huge news where it affects every sector or every conversation on every sports talk show. Whereas with everything that Caitlin Clark does, good or bad, it's a topic. And I'm a product of that. A lot of my headlines do involve Caitlin Clark, and so I do feel for her in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, you think about I haven't been around her much in her Fever career, but was at her Final Four runs in both her junior and senior year, and losing to LSU, losing to South Carolina. I don't remember Caitlin showing the kind of emotion she did in those defeats that she did, experiencing that injury against Connecticut on Tuesday night. And so it's just really sad, right? This is a player who's brought literally so much joy to the WNBA in 2024, and this raucous amount of enthusiasm, and what that could have looked like in her hometown. I mean, when Caitlin turned down the NBA 3-point shootout and was I want to have my first one in Indy, it was so exciting that she was prioritizing this and wanted to have this big moment for the people of Indianapolis, and for that to be put in jeopardy. And then as you mentioned, Caitlin goes everywhere, everybody wants to see her on the road. That was the Boston game that they suited her up for, right? You'd think coming back from an injury, stolen minutes restriction, maybe you prioritize one game of the back-to-back, but this is a market where maybe she won't get a chance to play again, right? So for her to have that moment on the floor at the TD Garden is just a real bummer. Yeah, just kind of cast a pall over the whole weekend to me, because I realize there's so much talent that is going to be on the court this weekend, and we're going to get into all of that. It's just for someone to be hosting, right, and coming off the Halliburton thing, when you mentioned that again, I got sad all of a sudden thinking about the Game 7 of it all. Yeah. So poor Indy fans, honestly, that's kind of a bummer.
And to have it happen so close to the break, I understand she was still going to have to play against the New York Liberty on Wednesday night, but it felt after this trying first half for her, this uneven first half where she had dealt with an injury, a significant injury or two for the first time in her career, missing absences, college and pro, that it was we're oh so close. Maybe she had gotten past that almost. And as you said, James, very well at the top, the basketball gods, clearly, not giving her any good fortune ahead of what should be a really exciting weekend. So let's get into it. The rest of the more exciting weekend, and tons of big events here, tons of stars, as Sabreena mentioned. And again, as of now, as we record this, Caitlin Clark is still participating in the 3-point shootout. We shall see. And she is still participating in the All-Star game. So let's operate under that assumption. But let's start with the 3-point shootout, because that is one of the two events on Friday night of All-Star Weekend. Like I said, Clark, along with fellow All-Stars Sabreena Ionescu, Alicia Gray, Kelsey Plum, and Sonia Citron. That is your core. Those are your participants. Sabreena, can you just walk us through how the event unfolds and what's at stake for the winner? Because that is pretty notable, I think, in getting this collection of players to finally participate in this event.
Kind of strange that Lexi Hall's not in this event, isn't it, James? But
yeah, she likes her bags, I must say.
All right, so the 3-point shootout, the way it works is there are 5 racks spread around the 3-point line, each of them with 5 balls. At the end of each rack is what's called the money ball. That's worth 2 points. The other ones are just worth 1 point. One rack is entirely money ball, so those are 2 points for each ball on the rack. And then we have 2 of these so-called starry balls, which are from logo range, and each of those is worth 3 points. So you have a total of 27 shots that a player can take, and they can get up to 40 points. Literally, one of the most electric moments I've ever been in the building for was when Sabreena Ionescu set the record with 37 points in the 2023 3-point shootout. This is a Friday afternoon in Vegas. It's 2 p.m. for some reason that this event is happening. The gym is barely full, and Sabreena just misses her first shot, hits the next 20 in a row, and it's just that's what I love about All-Star. The games are silly, and nobody really is trying all too hard because injury risk, and they're trying to get a break. But when you have that many incredible athletes, incredible competitors in the room together, sometimes just really cool things happen. And you have Sabreena back, record holder, Alicia Gray, defending champ, Kelsey Plum, Sonia Citron, obviously great shooters too. The $60,000 purse in addition to the $2,500 that the WNBA, provides to the winner. There's a good amount on the line. And I think it'll be an interesting showcase.
Well, we should say first, Sabreena, I just remember we were sitting next to each other, I believe, during that All-Star game or that All-Star skills night when Sabreena Ionescu goes off and she hits 25 of 27, I think, 3-pointers. And I just remember looking to you at one point, and we're just starting to do the math here, right?
Right.
Because we're just starting to count okay, she's made 4, 5, 6. We're just counting because I want to say she missed the very first shot.
The very
she took?
first one makes the next 20 and then hits, like, including both of the logo shots, and then hits the entire last rack. Yeah.
You're totally right. It was one of the craziest things that I think we have ever seen in person. And we should say, you mentioned the $60,000 purse. That is a purse that is coming from AFLAC and the WNBPA, the Players Association. They had this partnership last year to basically supplement what the WNBA and PA CBA otherwise awards players, because that is in, I believe, just the like $2,500 to $3,000 range otherwise. And so AFLAC and the PA kind of came in with this, huge purse. I guess, James, for you, I imagine you mentioned you might smoke some layups on this podcast, but in the gym, you, I imagine, are a pretty good 3-point shooter yourself. I don't know. What are you most looking forward to about 3-point? How are you kind of handicap it? Do you have a prediction? Anything you're just most excited about this event?
Yeah, part of me, if we're operating off of the sense that Caitlin Clark was going to participate, it's like, would this help you get out of the shooting slump if you are able to see some go through the rim and have that crowd kind of behind you? Because obviously everyone shoots well when they're in practice, but there's no environment, there's no competitive fire to that really. And so that was one thing I thought about. But kind of going back to you all telling the story about Sabreena and the All-Star Weekend that she had in the WNBA. Remember when she joined the NBA All-Star Weekend? That was a couple years ago here in Indianapolis, and that was my first time seeing a 3-point contest at the pro level in person. And to see her and Steph duel like that was amazing theater. And I thought Sabreena, there was probably about a 5-minute stretch there where everyone was like, oh my gosh, is she going to beat, the GOAT? And then Steph, I think he barely won the event. It was only about a few points, but like, it wasn't one of those things where like, he just blew her away or she had no chance. It was, no, Steph's got to be Steph to win this. And that was very exciting to me. So I'm looking forward to that event. I think it's one of the better ones just because when it comes to the male, dunk contest and all that, it's like, how many dunks can you do as a human? Like, it gets kind of old to me sometimes, but shooting I'll never get tired of just because I'm like, I wish I could shoot that well. And my dark horse candidate would be Sonya, just because I feel like she's having a great rookie season, and just seeing the way she's able to, move off the ball, knock down shots, really, and keep the floor space is highly impressive to me. So I'm going to go with the rookie to pull off the upset.
I will say it's certainly a fair and, I love that prediction, but we're talking about it. Alicia Gray, I mean, is she the most underrated player continue to be in this conversation? Like, she did win
I was going to pick
this
her,
event last year. Okay, she's your pick? She's your selection here, Sabreena?
She's my selection,
okay, so we'll get that on the record. Sabreena taking Alicia Gray. I guess, do I pick Alicia Gray or do I now go Kelsey Plum, who participated in this event in 2022? If you remember, that was won by Allie Quigley, one of her many wins in this competition. So to me, I still like Sabreena Ionescu. I mean, she told people on practice on Tuesday, I don't think she's expecting herself to have the same kind of 25 of 27 run the way she did in Vegas. But she basically also made a joke, like, when you get hot like that, like, who knows, like, what can happen.
She's so, like, crazy, though, competitive, that I feel like part of her will be like, you know what? I probably could do it again. Like, that's just how she's wired.
I just wonder how many of these people are actually practicing off of the rack this week. Because, like, I talked to the GM of the Mystics the other day, Jamila Weidman, and she said she hasn't seen Sony shoot off the rack yet. So, it's different. It's different than, like, catch and shoot. So I think experience matters a little bit in this event.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, next up is the Skills Challenge. That is the other big event on Friday night. Also participating, Alicia Gray, who defending her crown from last year too, plus Courtney Williams, Skylar Diggins, Natasha Cloud, and Erica Wheeler. Always nice to have participants in these events who are not all-stars. Usually the WNBA just kind of picks up all-stars and they kind of make up all these events, and that's why the fields traditionally are the way they are. So it's kind of fun to see some other names in, Wheeler and Cloud, who will both be in town at least for Friday night. So a lot of people might not know what the Skills Challenge is, what the format is. It's changed over the years a lot in the NBA. It's changed a little bit also in the WNBA. Sabreena, do you want to also break down how the Skills Challenge works?
Yeah, so the Skills Challenge is relatively new in the WNBA. The first year they had it was 2019, and they've only had it like 3 more times since then. So not like a huge history of this event, but in previous years, they've had like players go against each other on an obstacle course. I'm assuming because there are only 5 players this year, an odd number, they're not going to have a bracket. So the way it's going to work is each player like dribbles, completes a series of passes, like a chest pass, an outlet pass, a bounce pass. They have to hit a couple of threes, and then also a free throw jumper. And whoever does that the fastest, like the circuit moves on to the next round, and then there's a final round winner.
And we shall say, like, we all consume NBA All-Star Weekend too. I'm very interested in last year's NBA All-Star Weekend. Victor Wembanyama basically just like dropped the balls and kind of tried to get the best time.
Tried to gamify the skills challenge.
Yeah, gamify the skills
nasty.
challenge. I'm keeping a close eye out on that this weekend. James, do you have any kind of skills challenge prediction that you want to make as you think about this event?
So correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but I believe, was it Erica Wheeler that couldn't make it last year or
Correct.
something like that? So
Yeah.
I might go with her just off the strength of she's been holding this back for 2 years now, and she's always bringing good energy. And I think one of the coolest things about Erica is she has no, like, I'm too cool in her system. She's just fun. She's very outgoing. And I think she would give the fans that sort of effort and theater that they paid for, quite frankly. So I'll look forward to seeing her in that. And that will be my prediction on who's going to win it. Because part of me is always like, is somebody going to play a little bit too cool? And like I said, she does not give me that vibe at all.
That is a great call, James, and that is why this field is awesome in that regard, because you have someone like Skylar Diggins who she doesn't compete at anything at half speed. You have Natasha Cloud, who also doesn't compete at anything at half speed. You have Courtney Williams, who, you know, if she sees Skylar and Cloud and Erica bringing it, Courtney Williams, I doubt, is going to go at half speed, and then Alicia Gray, competitive herself, and I assume will bring it. So I like what you're saying in that logic.
But that money, I must say, the money makes a difference, man.
Money makes a difference.
You know, it makes everybody get up and have a little more pep in their step when you're playing for those amount of bags.
Totally. I'm going to go with Skylar. Here's my pick. I guess, Sabreena, do you have a quick prediction or assessment on how you think this is going to turn out?
I mean, we should mention again, like $55,000 from Affleck and the WNBA PA to the winner of this event. So just a little bit shy of the 3-point shootout money. And I get it. Like, this is not as cool of an event as the 3-point shootout. But yeah, like you said, I think the competitiveness of all of these players is like just off the charts. I would think Natasha Cloud, just because she gets the All-Star snub, this is sort of her way to like be like, hey, I'm supposed to be here. At least I'm going to win this event.
Yeah, I guess we shall see. Again, first half of the season, especially the first couple games, great for Cloud. Then she kind of tailed off a little bit and has played pretty well of late. But before we look to the All-Star game itself, let's just do one more fun little exercise. And I know this is something Sabreena and I talk about all the time. So maybe, James, if you want to jump in first on this, if you could create a new event for WNBA All-Star Weekend, I guess, what would it be? Why? Make the pitch for your dream W All-Star event add-on.
So my dream scenario or dream event in WNBA All-Star Weekend would be like Queen of the Hill, or, you know, person on top of the hill, whatever you want to do if you're, you know, non-binary, whatever the case may be. But I think that would be really cool. But my caveat would be 3 dribbles. Like, we're not doing if you shoot it and miss, you can chase down your rebound and do it. But I think 3 dribbles, you know, who can stand on top of the hill will be really, really fun. And then, you know, being around the Pacers the last few years, Buddy Hield, before he got traded away from the Pacers, he had this saying that he picked up from Rico Hines, one of the private trainers out in L.A., or had been one of the private trainers out in the L.A. area or in the California area for a while. He used to say, what your wands look like. And I need to see what your wands look like in this type of setting. And I think that it's fun. I mean, you grow up playing one-on-one. We don't see it often at the professional level, and you get to talk that talk. So that would be something that I would love to see in the WNBA.
And that's basically, you know, Queen of the Hill is basically like a one-on-one style tournament.
Yeah.
Is kind of the easy way to explain it. And that is something we did see it Unrivaled back in,
Queen of the
I
Court.
want to say it was
Yeah.
February, Queen of the Court, basically,
Yeah,
when they
see,
had that
that's what I
multi-day
need.
tournament. And it was definitely a hit. And we saw Leah Edwards go on this kind of magical run to the finals. And I thought that was a really, really exciting event to see a player emerge. Sabreena, are you a fan of this one-on-one tournament add-on, or is there something else you want to see?
I mean, I feel like it should come as no surprise to longtime listeners of this podcast that I love the Shooting Stars Challenge.
There it
and
is.
I see
There
no
it is.
reason why
Okay.
we can't have that at the WNBA level. I mean, so the way it worked on NBA All-Star was you would have a current NBA player, former NBA player, and a WNBA player. So I feel like we can sort of redux it for WNBA All-Star. You can have current W, former W, and then an NBA player from that city. And so basically the way it works is there's like 6 locations and everybody gets to take one shot from the spot. So there's like a little elbow, like baseline jumper, you know, free throw, corner 3, and then it ends with a half court shot. And because WNBA, like the half court shot is so ingrained into like the fabric of how these teams warm up and the players are always taking half-court shots. Like, you saw it at Shooting Stars in the NBA All-Star. Like, the WNBA player was oftentimes the one who used to hit it. So I like that event a lot, and I was bummed they took it out of the NBA. So why not, add it to the WNBA All-Star?
James, you should know, I know this is your first time on the show, but Sabreena and I are longtime higher Shooting Stars challenge with aficionados, watchers, and fans. It has been our favorite event in All-Star weekends for a long time, and I totally agree, Sabreena. I think it would be very fun to see, the three-person challenge. And it's the kind of thing, like, as the NBA All-Star weekend, people talk about these creative ideas, like, bring people to WNBA All-Star and create this awesome event. Are you telling me that, like, Jalen Brunson wouldn't want to participate in this kind of competition with Sabreena Ionescu or Brianna Stewart? Or, maybe we get into...
We gotta get a Brooklyn net instead of a Knick,
well,
okay?
That's
Let's
a good
keep
point.
it in the family. Cam Thomas,
I was about to throw a cross-team reference. Like, could Asia Wilson and Bam Adebayo play together in a higher Shooting Stars kind of competition, and we'll figure out who the third person is? Like, that would be a pretty exciting event, right? Like, I think a lot of people would tune in there. So, note to WNBA, please add that into All-Star next year. And we should say we don't yet know where 2027, or I guess 2026, wow, I'm really getting ahead of myself, All-Star will be. Let's keep it moving, and let's talk about the big game. This is Saturday night. We all know, and I'll put on the curmudgeon hat for a little bit here. I'll put on the curmudgeon hat here because in most years, the WNBA All-Star game has no stakes, does not matter. Players don't get a huge payout for winning it. That's a whole other topic that we don't have to get into necessarily on this show. It brings in the CBA. We've talked about that plenty and we'll continue to. It's also just like when certain point players just kind of running up and down, shooting threes. I know, I'm not trying to make the pitch here. Maybe someone else wants to make the pitch. But as the league pauses, I guess, for this All-Star break halfway through the season, it is nevertheless an exciting event. You see the best players on the court, showcasing their abilities. And it's a great opportunity to talk about the players who have selected to be in this game. Again, this is a super exclusive group to be a part of. 22 players were named to the All-Star team before injury replacements. That is a really, really selective group. It's even more selective than the year before when, because of it was Olympics versus WNBA All-Stars, there were 24 players selected. So
also a bigger
there's
league
a lot of great
now.
players. Right. Bigger league too. The season's been awesome. A ton of standout performances, a number of first-timers, and there's some questions of who just might show up and show out on this stage. So let's all go around. Maybe, Sabreena, you can kick us off, knowing you have surveyed these rosters very, very closely over the last week or 10 days. Who do you think is just most likely to break out from the weekend, who the impact that they have this weekend will linger, not just a reflection of the first half or the weekend, but they'll get some momentum going into half number 2?
Yeah, I think this is always like a good showcase for the rookies. It's their first time like on a national stage. I do think that, like, just because like Kiki and Sonia Citron are reserves, it's just harder to like make an impact that way. Then again, like, all of the starters have kind of like already had their breakout moments. So I kind of lean Courtney Williams here. Like, she's got the Stud Buds stream. It's getting increasingly popular. She's on maybe the best team in the WNBA, had a big shot in the finals last year. I still think like average casual fans not super aware of who Courtney Williams is. And if she has, a good showing in the skills challenge, she's on Team Collier, right? So Fee, Cheryl gonna, give her the ball in her hands, I'm sure, quite a bit on that team. To me, she's kind of like the type of player who has personality and like just will get her shots up. So, she could sort of have a moment here in this particular All-Star stage.
James, anyone standing out to you?
I'll go with the homer pick. I'll say Kelsey Mitchell. I know she's not like a breakout star because she's been a very good player in the WNBA for a long time now, but I think the casual fan may not be aware, or just the national audience may not be aware of how good she is. I often say she's one of the best scorers on earth, probably has the best first step of anybody on earth, I feel like sometimes. So this could be, in my opinion, like her coming out party. And then to kind of counter what Sabreena was saying, as far as what other reserves might get as far as minutes go, no one's going to tell Kelsey Mitchell, like, you got to come out the game. When you put in all this time, I think she's very well respected around the league. I think the players think highly of her. And so they might be willing to concede a few minutes to say, hey, this is her in her quote unquote hometown, at least her hometown for her career. So, go out there and kind of prove, who you are to the rest of the world.
And if I
she's
were, Sandy Brondello and Caitlin Clark were unable to go, I'd probably just have Kelsey Mitchell in the starting lineup anyway.
Good point.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we should say Kelsey Mitchell also on Team Clark, so poised to have a big performance. I like that we've all, and I'll reveal my pick in a second, gotten the guard route here, because so often when we think about All-Stars, like, right, that is what happens. Sabreena, like the last guard to win an All-Star game MVP, it's been...
You mean the last big?
I guess, well, the last big, excuse me, to win an All-Star MVP. I mean, it's been a long time, I think more than a decade since... Who was the last one?
Honestly, couldn't tell you. I think that's sort of the point here.
I mean, that I think tells you, right, all you need to know. I want to say it might have been even Candace Parker, 2013, could be our last, like, true forward. Maya Moore has won some All-Star Game MVPs in there. But Candace Parker, 2013, won the MVP. Like, that is pretty crazy. I guess to me, the player that stands out, I think, has kind of broken out. She's on the national consciousness, but I think still kind of underrated and appreciated. Skylar Diggins, who did not play in the All-Star game, did not make the All-Star team last year, sat out the 2023 season. And yeah, she's made a bunch of All-Star teams before that. But again, I think, like, here's this player who super competitive, can play with anyone, has a deep bag of moves who she can go to at any time. Like, I think, Team Collier, she could be in for a big role here. That is a team that also dealing with a little bit of injury. Kayla McBride replacing Ryan Howard. We'll see how much of a role K-Mac gets. But, like, Skylar is due for a big All-Star weekend, and she is definitely the kind of player who, like, I think to the casual fan who doesn't know about, all her stuff with Puma or her fashion or just how good of a player she is, she has a huge All-Star game. She continues it in the second half where Seattle has been playing really, really well. Been one of the surprises, I think, bright spots, despite some of their inconsistent moments. I think she's well positioned to break out and take that momentum and run with it.
Real quick, and she's coming home. She's an Indiana native.
Great point.
Played at Notre Dame, played at South Bend, Washington High School. I get told often how great she was at the high school level, because people love high school basketball around here too. So I kind of can see where you're going with that, Ben, because it really would be a homecoming for her.
Yeah, I guess we shall see. She's, I think, due for a big weekend. It should be, we'll see what kind of game we get. The big absence here, Arike Gumbawale usually tears up All-Star games. Like, is there, do we think, I don't know, who's going to be the player that just shows out, like, their bag the most, dips in and just shows off their who's, like, one-on-one game, do we think, from the first half of the year is best positioned from what we've seen to just, like, explode? James, I don't know. Do you have a thought on
question?
Not they might not win MVP, maybe they do, but just like who's going to show us the highlights of the weekend of the game?
If I had to pick one, it might be Courtney because of her personality, and she's got the flair in her game, the crossovers, the jumper, the fancy, layups and things like that. I think she's somebody who would certainly wow the crowd with the way that she plays, because it might not be like other players might be better, but they might not be as flashy or as fun. I think of, Sabreena. I don't know if Sabreena does, things that are like super like wow in the moment. You look up and you're like, dang, her impact is crazy. But, with Courtney, there's a flair there. There's a swagger to everything that she does, the way she talks and walks as well. And, assuming they have some in-game interviews, she'd be the one to be talking the most trash or giving us the best play-by-play.
You might get
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess just like sticking in the Notre Dame vein, if like Skylar could break out, or Rika has done this in previous years, like why not? Like Jackie Young doesn't have the personality, but she certainly can put up some points. And you're talking about Indiana, homecoming, all of that. Like that seems like another possibility of someone who could assume the Arike mantle of like just getting super hot and, getting a lot of buckets.
Yeah, I always forget that she's from Indiana too. I think she scored like over 3,000 points in her high school career, which is just absurd. But, I'll let you continue, Ben, but she is a legend around here as well.
I was going to throw one big who I think is well positioned because we should give them some kind of love here. Satu Sabali, I think. I mean, I know we're kind of cheating. She's a lead ball handler. Like if you told me that she dusted off a couple crossovers and, some pull-up step-back jumpers, some moves that she doesn't try out in games, like she could be kind of this breakout star, just like showing off her offensive repertoire in a way that she might not normally on a day-to-day basis in Phoenix.
I guess the only issue with Satu is, she's been in a boot recently, hasn't played the last few games for the Mercury.
Sabreena.
Let's just hope that she's available for the All-Star game, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's Sabreena Merchant, everybody, playing the role of Killjoy. She's assumed that title from me at this
point.
I'm sorry,
pointing out a player who was unavailable.
Context?
No, it's a very fair point. I guess is there one other thing either on court or off court? Sabreena, I know like there's so much going on this weekend, and James too, as the Indy native, we're all bombarding and parachuting into your town. But Sabreena, is there like one thing on or off court, niche, big picture, fan, I don't know, just anything you are looking forward to about touching down in Indy and being there this weekend?
Well, I guess just like first thing, I mean, I think All-Star is kind of like one of the best parts of the WNBA calendar because you can plan out in advance, right? Like we know where it's going to be. Fans can, book travel like ahead of time and like actually make this a destination, and there's WNBA Live, which is fun, and like players are just around the city all the time. But if there's one thing I'm genuinely looking forward to, it's Flau'jae performing this weekend because she is just the coolest.
That is LSU's Flau'jae Johnson. She loves the.
She doesn't even need like
WNBA
more
All-Star
introduction. Everybody
scene.
knows who
Yeah.
Flau'jae is. Like
That's true.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to Sydney Colson participating in her stand-up comedy act at Fever Fest. And this is they have like Cedric the Entertainer is going to be there. I think Kid Laroi is performing as well. So there's like a lot of music and comedians and just a very eclectic group. Like I don't know how you got them all together, but that should be fun. I think it's kind of really cool to spotlight other players like we talked about throughout this episode besides the All-Stars. And I think Sydney Colson has that All-Star sort of like personality. We joke and call her the face of the league, but I don't know anybody in the league who doesn't like her or doesn't love her. And so I'm excited to see her do the stand-up comedy. She's done it in the past. She did tell me this isn't her first show, but obviously this will be the first one of this magnitude. And it's different to be funny like in the moment, but to be stand-up comedy funny is a different type of animal. But she told me straight up, like, if it scares me, I want to do it. And I was like, more people would probably be like that. And so I respect her for it.
And she's doing that's Saturday afternoon, right, James? And anyone
this will
can
be Saturday
attend that?
at 6 p.m. and this will be over at the Everwise Amphitheater at White River State Park. So I've been told she'll go right on at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5. So if you want to, have a good time and attend a very unique event, one of one, I would think, come check it out. I'll be there in person myself to scout the scene, and I'll report back on what I heard and if she made me laugh, which I feel like Sydney can make me laugh just period because that's how she is. But from her overall perspective of it, it's cool that she's getting this moment.
Yeah, for sure. We should say, like, there are a lot of fan events like that this weekend. I think WNBA Live begins on Friday. I don't know the exact address of it. Just if you Google WNBA Live, I'm sure it's in one of the big event spaces downtown by the arena.
Where is it today? Indiana Convention Center.
At the convention center, there's going to be activations, talks, panels. I'm sure your favorite player, for anyone listening, is bound to show up at least once over the weekend and take some photos and engage in whatever is going on. Like, that is a big thing. And it's, frankly, one of these things that I think is cool for Sabreena and I, who've done a few WNBA All-Stars. Like, WNBA All-Star never used to be the kind of big event that it is. And I think, while all of our calendars are booked up with all these different kinds of events and it's hard to juggle everything, like, brands are investing in WNBA All-Star Weekend, as Sabreena was saying, like never before. And this is really like a recent trend over the last 3 or 4 years. People started to, we're talking corporate brands, really started to pour into the weekend and make it a full weekend. And I think that is one of the cool parts of it. Like, I know, I'm certainly excited to get to Indy and just like feel the energy. And I'm sure, James, like, you can feel it right now just being around the city. I mean, literally in the airport, they brought that court back, right? You have Clark on the Marriott, as we're saying. Like, there's stuff already out and about. They changed the street
names for the
true
WNBA
story.
teams. Yeah.
You guys, I went and picked up my credential today, and even just walking from, I have a radio show that I do in the morning, so I parked downtown and I walked over to the building, about a 10-minute walk, and I'm seeing just all the different advertisements on the buildings, and it's like you turn your head and it's Asia Wilson right in your face. You turn your head another way, there's Sabreena, and so I think that it's not just the Caitlin Clark spectacle. They really are trying to make sure that everyone in the league is celebrated. And I've enjoyed kind of getting that buzz, even seeing different jerseys downtown because, I'm in Caitlin Clark country. And so I see a lot of number 22s often. And now I've seen other numbers, even Paige's number 5 out here as well. So it's going to be good. We'll probably be a little tired, but I always think to myself, like, at least for myself personally, and like living in the actual city, it won't be here anytime soon again. So you might as well just, dive into it and have no regrets.
That is, I think, a great attitude to have, James, on the weekend as a whole. And as we kind of close out this show, let's dive into one other challenge that I have drafted up for you guys. James, I think this is going to test you for sure, but I hope it will also test Sabreena. It's really just some All-Star Weekend trivia that will test the deep recesses of Sabreena's brain more than anyone else to see how much she remembers or knows about All-Star games of the past. James, feel free to participate, but again, I don't know how much you're gonna,
I didn't study for this.
Yeah, I didn't
Neither
give you
did
these
I.
questions. All right. We'll start easy. Which player has won the most WNBA All-Star three-point contests?
Oh, I think is
Allie
that
Quigley.
Quicks? Yeah.
Allie Quigley. Allie
The
Quigley
GOAT.
is correct. Yeah, she is the GOAT of that. James, did you know that one?
Yeah. I said
Yeah,
Quicks.
okay.
So
Yeah,
okay.
he said
Very
that.
nice. All right. Now we're going to get into the more challenging. We're making a fast pivot, I guess. We're going around the track real fast right now, to use an Indianapolis metaphor. This person, you got to tell me who it was the first winner of both the WNBA All-Star Skills Competition and also the 3 points competition's debut in 2006. There is a little bit of an age. They're 2 different years those competitions debuted, but the same person won the debut event in each. Any guesses as to who that person might be?
So 2006.
2006 was the 3-point debut, and 2003 was the debut of the skills competition.
Man, the skills really had a long hiatus after that.
Yeah,
Ooh,
long hiatus.
Yeah.
Any guesses as to
So
same
if it's
person won both?
2003, it can't be Tarazi. 2003. I mean, like Sue Bird seems like a very legitimate skills challenge winner, but like, could she have won a 3-point shootout in 06? I don't know.
Lord. See, you got me stumped, Ben.
I'm just gonna go with Sue Bird. Yeah.
Sue Bird is a good guess, but it is actually someone who is a Hall of Fame coach. That would be Dawn Staley.
Oh,
Dawn
How about that?
Staley won both of those events. The first
What hasn't
one.
she done?
What
Dawn
hasn't
Staley
she done?
winning a 3-point shootout
Yeah.
is fascinating to me.
Yeah,
What the heck?
I was looking at the results. She shot it pretty well, but let me tell you, she wouldn't have had a chance against Sabreena Ionescu, her mark
one
that
does.
she set just a couple years ago. I guess my next question then, we have 2 more, and then we will close out this very exciting exercise, exciting for me at least, is who are the other 3 people? 3 other people have won both the skills and 3-point shootout in the WNBA All-Star competitions. Do we know? Dawn is one, and then there's 3 others. Any guesses on who those 3 are?
Alicia Gray is one.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
the other
Alicia
one.
Gray is one. Yep.
Okay, so I feel like Quiggs is likely just because we know she's won a 3-point shootout, but has she done a skills challenge? Let's see. Okay, the last winner of the 3-point shootout, like I can only think of Quiggs winning these. I want
Has
to say
Tarazi
like,
done it?
I don't believe Tarasi is a winner of both.
yeah.
Okay. I just chose that because she played for forever.
Right. A reasonable
At some
guess.
point, you're gonna check this off your list. Man.
One other person did it relatively recently.
Recently, okay.
I'm just gonna guess Sabreena.
Sabreena Ionescu is
Yeah.
correct. She, as you mentioned, when we've
Wow.
talked about it, 2023 3-point competition winner, and 2022
Right.
she won the skills challenge, beating Nalissa Smith. There's your second place trivia for all those keeping score of that at home. The last one would be Becky Hammond. Becky
I was
Hammond
gonna say
has
Becky
won
actually.
both
Just haven't
competitions.
gotten that. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
She was gonna be
And
my
our
guess for 2000. She was gonna be my guess for the skills like debut one before we said Dawn. But yeah.
Okay, last one. Don't think too hard about it. 2023 skills competition winner. I can give you some hints if you want, but does anyone remember the
I was in the building for
2023
that,
skills
so I'm gonna
com-
let
you were in the
James try
building?
first. Yeah.
2023. Oof.
Do you remember it, Sabreena?
I remember it vividly.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
do not remember this.
Don't throw out a name, James, because you're gonna probably be wrong.
See, Ben is tricking you right
Natasha
away,
Cloud,
James,
maybe?
because
I'm
it was
not
it
sure.
was a team event that year. It was 2
Yes.
players on the Las Vegas Aces who won the skills challenge, and that would be Chelsea Gray and Kelsey Plum.
Well done,
Wow.
Sabreena.
Well,
That is
yeah, I
why-
definitely wouldn't have guessed that.
That is why you're the best in the business, because it was a trick question. I wanted one name for all the others, and this is an event in which there were 2 names, as you so deftly remembered. It was a team event of Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray winning it. So again, I appreciate you guys playing in our fun little All-Star game, All-Star Weekend trivia. Friday night, the events begin at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. We will all be there. Sabreena, James, we'll be having social content on all of our social channels, on the athletic feeds. We'll have a whole team there. We'll be giving you, shorts and longer stuff and fan videos, and, keep an eye out for us and say hi if you see us, and say nice things if you want. It's always fun to meet people at these events and, hear your feedback or story ideas or podcast ideas or any of which of the above. And then we'll talk more about All-Star and everything to come next Tuesday. We'll recap the weekend and look ahead to the second half of the WNBA season. And that is all we got for you today. And so before we go, as always, if you haven't already, please follow our show right now, wherever you are listening, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We really love to hear from you, as we said. So drop a comment or an email or a post or say hello this weekend, whatever works. And of course, head on over to our partner, the Yahoo Sports Hub, for more content at sports.yahoo.com/women's-sports. So on behalf of James and Sabreena, on behalf of The Athletic, I am Ben Pickman. Thank you for listening. Enjoy All-Star Weekend, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to No Off Season. To hear more, be sure to like and subscribe. We drop new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.